Welcome back, everyone. As usual, we are two dudes talking 80s. I'm John. That's my partner in crime, Lewis.
Hello.
It always scares me when you have that delay. I'm like, what's he going to throw at me? But we're going to go ahead. We're going to continue for the month of October, pretty much talking about 80s horror movies. And this is one of my all time favorites. I'm talking about 1980s The Shining. Lou, I'm sure this ranks pretty high up on your list of favorites as well.
Absolutely. Just love this movie. Wasn't super gory, but still super. I mean, it's to me like the epitome of a horror flick. It was just awesome.
Do you remember when you first saw it?
I honestly don't. I know it was not in a movie theater. I know it was on television, and it's one of those movies again that anytime that it's on, I can't help but stop to watch it.
I actually did see it in the theaters.
Ooh.
Me and Robbie Barentino went, and I want to say we went to the Hillsdale Cinema, and we saw it when it was released. And how the hell they let us in? Because I don't even. I might have maybe been a sixth grader, maybe not even a sixth grader at the time. I'm trying to think. Don't make me do math, but I
Yeah,
can't believe they let us in.
yeah, it might have been because I think it was released in 1980, right?
It was.
Yeah.
I'm not doing the math. That's too much for me to figure out. Um, but so the movie was actually based on the Stephen King novel, obviously, but it was based upon an experience that I guess there was a hotel, the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, that Stephen King had stayed in as a young child, had nightmares about it, and that's what actually inspired him to write the novel The Shining. Even though they didn't use that hotel for the actual filming, the exteriors were filmed in a place called Timberlake Lodge in Oregon. I think it was in Mount Hood. And the interiors were mostly shot on a soundstage in England. But you can still, apparently to this day, stay in that hotel in Colorado that inspired Stephen King to write this amazing novel. I don't know about the Timberlake Lodge. I wasn't able to find that. It was in a hurry, but you could stay there. So let me ask you: would you?
I would love to. I would absolutely love to. It would be super cool. I remember when I first started watching the movie, thinking how awesome that would be to have a whole hotel to yourself, and being the little kid Danny and being able to ride his big wheel. And you know how I thought this thing about big wheels that I never had one, and that's like one of my big pains, I guess, in my heart from childhood, never having have that. Try this again. English is hard. Never having had that fulfilled. And so here's Danny riding in this pseudo-looking big wheel thing through all the hallways in the hotel with nobody there. I just thought that was the amazing idea. I would love it.
All right. So now, one, I know what to get you for your next birthday, and two, Danny ran into some things in that hotel I don't think you would be that thrilled to run into. I will tell you, those two girls, when I saw this movie the first time in theaters as a young kid, those two girls were the thing that freaked me out the most.
Really.
Yeah, that image when they're standing there and holding hands, and then he sees them, laying there dead, with all the blood. It freaked me out. That was probably the hardest thing that for me to handle as as a young man or as a boy. Seeing that in theaters, that scared the crap out of
Would you say that that's one of your favorite scenes in the movie?
me. I'm sorry.
Would you say that that's one of your favorite scenes in the movie?
I wouldn't say favorites. There's a lot of favorite scenes in there. But yeah, I think that one probably had the most impact.
What
I
would
don't know about favorites.
what would be one of your favorites?
Oh gosh. I don't know. I mean, I love the whole movie as a whole. For scares, I think the scares when he Jack Nicholson jumps out and hits Scatman Crothers with the axe. That was completely shocking, and I think the very end when they, show pan out of the photo of the Overlook Hotel from years and years ago. I forgot what year it was supposed to be. And there's Jack right in front with the tuxedo with a big smile on his face. That just blew my mind. I would have to say that would have to probably be my favorite scene.
First of all, I love the fact that the actor's name is Scatman. It's like Scatman. um, I didn't realize that until I did research 5 minutes before we got logged on to this. But yeah, one of my favorite scenes, and I can't explain to you why, it was just super creepy, and I'm drawn to the supernatural stuff anyway, was when Jack Nicholson's character walked into the bar and it was an empty bar, and then he stands there, and all of a sudden, next time that you pan over to the bar, the lights are on and there's a bartender and offering him a drink. And I love that scene. That whole scene is just, and I can't explain to you why, it's just super creepy and just super awesome.
Yeah, that definitely had impact as well. It's funny you mentioned Scatman Crothers, right? That he was, the person that originally the person that Stanley Kubrick wanted was somebody else that had as a very unusual name. I don't know if it's a stage name or not, but it was Slim Pickens. And he had worked with Slim Pickens before. And Slim Pickens, I think it was in Doctor Strangelove. And Slim Pickens goes, "Oh, hell no, I will not work with that guy." Like Stanley Kubrick, the director, was known to be a perfectionist, shoot things a million times over, and being incredibly difficult with his actors. So Slim Pickens said, "Yeah, no, I'm not into that one. I'll skip it."
I still can't get over the fact that the guy's name is Slim Pickens.
Would you rather be Slim Pickens or Scatman Crothers?
I don't know, Slim Pickings. I mean, that's
Pickens.
I know, but it's what I'm thinking of Slim Pickens. Yeah, you're Slim Pickens. No, I think I'd rather be Scatman.
I'm assuming they're both stage names, but yeah, they're both pretty awesome. So the interesting thing about this movie, well, one of the many interesting things about this movie, is the person whose book it was based on hated the movie. Stephen King has been on record, absolutely despises this movie, thinks it's all flash, no substance, disagreed with a lot of Stanley Kubrick's choices, and hates the movie, which is crazy to me because it's probably, Stephen King's best loved adaptation. Um, but one of the big things that he had against the movie was the casting of Jack Nicholson.
Hmm.
And Stephen King had a lot of other actors that he thought would have been a significantly better choice than Jack Nicholson. And when you hear his reasoning, you kind of go, huh, he's not probably wrong in regards to that, even though, you can't think of this movie without Jack Nicholson. Um, he feels like Jack Nicholson already looks unhinged. And it's not that much of a push to make him completely unhinged. And so he wants somebody that looked more, Joe Average, I guess, that seemed like a nice person that becomes unhinged, and thought that would have had more impact. And I ask you, what do you think about those thoughts?
Um, Sort of hard to say, especially like you mentioned. I mean, Jack Nicholson is just ingrained in that movie. I mean, that, here's Johnny. Yeah, I mean, it's his face. Uh, I think that I like the fact that Jack Nicholson looks like he had the potential to become unhinged. It almost sort of leads into the fact that he does, makes it a little more, I guess, believable. If the person was a super nice guy and then starts to, tweak, it would still be an interesting movie. It would be cool. It's just very hard to say whether it would be better.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if it would be better. It'd be different. Kind of a comparison I use is the movie 1408, which is kind of a similar thing. Haunted room, haunted hotel. 1408 stars John Cusack, and you can kind of see him going mad in this movie. And I thought it was very impactful. But again, I can't imagine this movie without Jack Nicholson. And you mentioned the Here's Johnny. The funny thing is that was actually improvised. Um,
Wow.
and Stanley Kubrick hated it originally because he was English and he didn't get the reference that it was in reference to the, Johnny Carson show. So he didn't get it. And I think once they explained to him, he elected to keep it.
Yeah, again, that is, we had, if we had something to drink, we'd totally drink. Is an iconic scene, right? I mean, just the expression on his face, looking through, the hole in the door, and like, here's Johnny. Oh my God, no, no way could you take that out of the movie. That's absolutely iconic of the movie.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of something that's iconic, I don't think we can talk about The Shining without talking about something that was so important in the movie and yet doesn't have a line in the movie. And I'm talking about, yes, the carpet. That carpet in The Shining is insane. And I actually did a bit of research on this. And the guy who created it is a gentleman named David Hicks. And I guess this pattern is called the Hicks hexagon. I guess you can still buy it through other people. I don't think his company still sells it. You can also buy it in wallpaper, by the way. But according to records, he did not, according to his son anyway, he did not work on this movie. He only worked on one movie in his life, and it wasn't The Shining. So then the question becomes, why did Stanley Kubrick use this pattern? And apparently there are a lot of historians and everything that have actually tried to research it, and nobody can figure it out. There's not even anything in the production notes or whatever showing that they even ordered it. So there is a big mystery there about why this carpet was so important in this movie. And again, similar to Jack Nicholson, Here's Johnny, I can't imagine this movie without that damn carpet.
Yeah, that's a really good call out. I thought you were gonna go the route of the maze, saying that was what was something that again was very iconic, and it was. But yeah, you're right. The carpet as well, definitely.
I think, I want to get a shirt. I just want to shirt the entire pattern to be that pattern. I don't think I don't think I can do the wallpaper. It's a little creepy. It's interesting though. You go on, you look at some of the other designs that they have, and with different colors, it doesn't look that creepy. But again, Kubrick in his eyes, man, that made a difference. But let's talk about the maze since you brought it up. Um, I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Shining, but in the book, it actually was hedge animals, and the hedge animals were surrounding the Overlook Hotel and appear to be coming closer and closer. Kubrick is like, there is no way I can shoot this, especially back in 1978, 79 when he shot this. So that's why they went with the hedge maze, which again, talk about iconic. I can't imagine this movie without it. I've seen the Stephen King adaptation where he actually directed it with Timothy Daley. And yeah, the hedge animals definitely didn't have anywhere near the same impact.
No, especially that they, the maze played such a key role in, the demise of Jack Torrance that, I can't think of, I don't know how these hedge animals would have played the same role. Again, I can't see it, and I don't think I want to see it. I want to keep my focus and memory of the way that, the original Shining was.
You know, we're talking about iconic scenes in the movie, and I think you have to consider the blood out of the elevator as one of the most iconic scenes or images, which we didn't mention earlier, in the movie, and probably of all time. That was so crazy. And I remember the commercial for The Shining was, I don't know if it was the commercial on TV or if it was just the commercial in movie theaters, where it would just, had somebody doing a talk over and they showed just that scene. And I remember it was just terrifying to see. Well, the Motion Picture Artists of America or Association of America, the MPAA, saw that trailer and they're like, you can't use that. You can't do that. Stanley Kubrick convinced them that it wasn't blood, it was rusty water. That's why that was allowed to be shown.
Creative marketing right there.
So I heard that shot alone took maybe even weeks or even months.
Wow.
Yeah, so he was quite the perfectionist. Um, and if we're going to talk about Stanley Kubrick and Jack Nicholson, we got to talk about Shelley Duvall because I don't think she gets nearly enough credit, and it's almost heartbreaking reading but how she was treated on set. They I guess Stanley Kubrick wanted people to shun her. He treated her horribly because he thought it would be better to get the better performance out of her. That she's isolated, no one likes her, that kind of stuff, and was, by all accounts, was treated her horribly. Sadly, I think she's had some mental health issues later on in life, and hasn't didn't continue acting. Hasn't acted in many, many years. But if we're just simply talking about her performance, I just thought she was perfect for this role.
Yeah, she absolutely played it to a T. I mean, she was, that played the meekness super, super well. All the scenes where she needed to look terrified, she absolutely looked terrified. She did play a very, very key role in this movie, and I agree that, probably a little underrated.
Yeah, just the look of horror on her face, and you can tell that things haven't gone her way in this marriage, this relationship, even in the past. They kind of allude to, Jack's problems with drinking when I think they say he dislocated Danny's shoulder or something by picking him up, or broke his arm or something. I forget exactly what the injury was, but what we mentioned earlier, favorite scenes, and now I'm thinking about it. One of my favorite scenes is when she goes into where the area of the hotel where Jack had been working and was told, don't ever come in here. I'm working. If you hear typing, you don't hear typing, just stay away from this. Leave this place alone. And something compels her to go in there, and she's looking at the stuff that Jack's writing, and everything is all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And there's hundreds of those pages there, and in different, written differently and everything else. And then of course her expression when she realizes that that's all Jack's been doing and he's probably lost it is insanely cool.
Yeah, yeah, I agreed. Absolutely agreed. Also wanted to talk about Danny Lloyd, who played Danny Torrance. And when you were talking about the scene with the blood coming out of the elevators, I remember the look of terror on Danny's face, right? Because that was sort of a vision that he was having, and if I recall correctly. And I thought he did a really, really great job as well. And the whole Danny's not here, Mrs. Torrance. Super cool, super creepy, and especially for a child, he did super, super well.
Yeah, and that's the only movie he ever acted in.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think he, unlike the way Kubrick was with Shelley Duvall and even Jack Nicholson, apparently he was really good to Danny Lloyd and treated him very well, and they kept in touch, and I think he even sent him like a congratulatory telegram or something when he graduated from high school or something. But yeah, they still kept in touch.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder why he didn't pursue acting after that.
I don't know. It's you hit a home run on that. I'm sure that was probably very traumatizing, that movie, for everybody based upon everything I've read.
Yeah.
We skipped over it, but one of the things that was funny is one of Stanley Kubrick's assistants had to do all that typing for that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, and she had to type hundreds of those things. Do you imagine that?
If they're paying me good money, I think I'd be good with it.
This was before computers. That was working on a manual typewriter and doing all that.
If they paid me good money, I think I'd be okay with it.
All right, I'll give you $50 an hour, and let's see how long you last doing that on a manual typewriter. No
Excellent.
mistakes.
Excellent. No. Now you're throwing caveats in there. No mistakes.
Do you ever see a mistake on there?
Well, I don't know how many times that she might have made a mistake and it didn't actually put it into to be honest, there could have been a mistake in there. We didn't even notice it.
I think there were actually a couple minor ones.
But
So
that is
I'm gonna
pretty
ask you,
monotonous.
there are a couple things that's related to this. Did you ever see the documentary Room 237?
No, I don't, although I might have caught some snippets of it on YouTube.
Yeah, that's a very interesting documentary that came out a few years back. That's basically all the fan theories about The Shining. And I gotta say, some of it's just insane. The fact that, it's all sexual and, what it represents. And like they break down the scene where his boss walks in front of him, when he's meeting the boss and he walks in front of his desk and there happens to be his nameplate and it's the same, right where he's staying there, simulating his penis. And it's just like, who comes up with this stuff? But it's pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting watch. I can't say there are many of those theories that I agree with. There have been theories that it's set to a Beatles album. I forget, I don't remember which album. But there's a lot of weird theories out there about this movie, and it's certainly worth a watch. And then, of course, I have to ask, and I already know the answer because it's you. Have you ever seen Doctor Sleep?
I don't think I've ever even heard of it.
So Doctor Sleep is a sequel to The Shining that came out a few years ago.
Oh.
And it's based upon Danny being an adult. And he's, trying to hide his past. And he somehow is able to communicate with a person similar to how he was communicated with to a young woman who has the same power, but she's apparently way more powerful than he was with it. And you also find that there's another group that are actually hunting her to try and use her for their own needs, and they have the power. Obviously, it's nothing compared to The Shining, but it's not bad. It's worth a watch. I talk more about it. I saw it once, and it was good, and don't remember that much about it. But it's definitely worth checking out and seeing what you think.
Awesome. I'll have to give that a look.
All right. Well, I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover in regards to The Shining. How about you?
Red rum, red rum. That's all.
That was another scene that freaked me out, was when he starts doing it all crazy, talking with his I'm forgetting the name of the finger now.
Is it Tommy? I don't remember.
I'm just drawing a blank on it. I know he had a name for it. But when he does that and wakes Shelley Duvall's character up and she looks at the door and he wrote murder on it, but he wrote it backwards. When she sees it in the mirror, she sees that it says murder, and her expression, that just freaked me out.
Yeah, definitely.
Great movie. Probably one of the most perfect Halloween movies there are. So I definitely watch it this Halloween, enjoy it, and relive your time at the Overlook. And I'm gonna book you a trip to Colorado so you can stay in that hotel, because I'm not going.
Excellent, man. Just make sure I have a big wheel.
Okay, but it doesn't look the same inside. It was this was the one in Colorado simply is where Stephen King was staying. So I don't know what the inside looks. I don't even know what the outside looks like. But apparently, room 237. No, I'm sorry, 217. Because I think it was 217 in the book, 237 in the movie, because they asked them to change the number just so they could get people to stay. I don't think they have a 237. So they're like, yeah, if you put 217, no one's going to want to stay in that room. And apparently that hotel, unless something's changed, they have a special channel that plays The Shining on loop.
Super cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, as always, we appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully you enjoyed The Shining as much as we did. Let us know what your favorites are in the comments. Please give us a like, give us a subscription if you haven't done so already. And Lou, take us out, my brother.
Peace out.
Thank you guys.